right. Welcome, everybody. Ged, what the hell is on your face, my friend? Do you want to explain that for our viewers?
Yeah, I don't jump on a lot of bandwagons for charity, but I do my best to jump on the Movember bandwagon. I've been doing it for years. I haven't been as consistent over the last 3 or 4. My lovely wife, although very supportive, is absolutely grossed out by this. But we put a team together at work where I work at Danby Appliances. The CEO, Jim Estel, is matching all donations up to $10,000, which is amazing. If you haven't Googled the stuff Jim Estel has done, who's the CEO of Danby, is very much involved in charity and kind of bringing refugees who are in like crazy amounts of danger over to Canada. He's pretty well known for it. So a team at work and I have put this together. Maybe you'd be so kind as to put this up in the link afterwards. Any and all support is very welcome. And like I said, it's just it's that one cause that I will get behind every single year.
For sure, buddy. Is that a full 9 days of growth, or did you cheat a little?
No, this is I shaved on Halloween. I am just a pretty hairy individual. The worst part is we go on vacation next Friday down south. So if I keep it, I'm going to come back, and when I shave, I'm going to have the white outline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the wife's not down with the mustache rides, eh?
She is the opposite of down. But at the same time, she
packing up shop.
Yeah. I realized how Movember quickly gave birth to a different type of November. I believe they call it the NNN or the triple N. I don't really know if I can say it on this channel or if I'll get persecuted for it, but
no,
I'm pretty sure the November. What's that?
I said no legumes November.
Yes. No legumes November, I think, can be directly tied into the mustache, but it's a worthwhile cause.
All right, so we are here to talk about Andor episode 10. I believe it is called One Way Out. Is that what it was?
One Way Out.
One Way Out. There's a bunch of different ways to attack this, but this was a sensational episode. Let's just get it out there. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of criticism. We get finally the payoff from the prison escape, and we get this very tiny touch in on Ferrix, which not really much amounted there. There's that weird what's her name, Jitka or whatever. She has that she's watching the mom's place, and then some other random dude's watching her, and like that's really
that was the one part of the episode. Like, I'm sure it's important, but
it seemed a little
like,
out of
I
place.
Get it. His mom isn't taking her meds. Like, who cares? Like, why are we spending 30 seconds on this right now?
Yeah, it seemed out of place just to randomly throw that in there. But we get great Mon Mothma scene, and we get a great Luthen scene. But let's start with the star of the show. And
you want to dive right into it.
Andy Serkis, what a performance. This really reminded me of the House of the Dragon, the King Viserys episode. Like, he got his episode to kind of shine, and Andy Serkis got his for what's his name? Kino. He got his moment, and boy, did he not disappoint.
That pep talk. Oh, when Andor's like, you can do better than that.
Yeah.
Oh man. Like, I mean, Andy Serkis is in my opinion, as in terms of the nerd stuff that I'm into, I'm just gonna say it, is fucking legendary. Sorry for the F-bomb. From Gollum to playing Alfred to I watched Black Panther last night because Wakanda Forever comes out tomorrow night. You better believe I'm going first show for that. His character Ulysses Claw, like he has to be so underrated for what he's done in pop culture and nerd culture. And I don't know if I've ever been more excited about Andy Serkis than I was listening to him I mean, that whole episode, but specifically deliver that speech. And I mean, that's hard because he's fucking Gollum. But yet I
Yeah.
was so excited about him as Kino. Like I was sitting on the edge of my couch going, Tyler must be losing his mind right now.
Oh, it was so good. I was definitely in the feels when he was dropping that, and you see the montage of all the like the workers kind of looking up, being like what? Like we can get out of here. Just great. And like the whole escape, like the tension was perfect, like very smartly executed. Again, not the only thing I was thinking in my head was like, how come they're not putting the shoes on? They have access to all the shoes, but they obviously solved that by saying, they were able to shut down the floors on their floor, and then they got to the power grid to shut it down for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just well layered, and just every step of the way, Andy Serkis, and like his like reserved and conservative and scared to then, like you said, gets the pep talk from Andor and just gets that overall confidence. And one thing I want to touch on, I loved everything up until the end, and this was actually going to be a nitpick to me from me until I read Andy Serkis actually put out an interview today and explained it, and I've completely 180'd on it. And the whole I can't swim scene, for me was like, I was just like, why? Like you just got this triumphant moment, and now all of a sudden you can't swim. You're gonna stay on this place to die because you can't swim. And like, I know people who can't swim, but for me, I've never personally really like ever felt anything about it, just because I don't know. I've just felt like even if I couldn't swim, I feel like I could float. Like I've just never, I've never got that part of it. Right. And if there was extreme, death on the other end, I was just like, what, like he's really just going to stay up there. But I get it from that point. But what he said in the interview was he knew, like obviously everyone knew they're on like a water base, right? So the whole time he knew he was going to lead this kind of uprising, help his brothers fight and get out, knowing that he was never, ever going to actually escape himself. So that was actually worked into the character and the moment. So when I heard that portrayal, what they were going for, I was like, oh man, that makes like his sacrifice and speech and all that just even all that more powerful.
Yeah.
I still wish he would have jumped, but
yeah. He should have leapt. He should have jumped. Yeah. I know we're picking at straws for an episode that we're gonna rate at an ungodly level. But yeah, if you could be nitpicky.
Yeah, if you have to be critical, that'd be, we talked about the one throwaway scene wasn't needed. And then maybe the can't swim, just it seemed like this, like a big triumphant moment just for it to kind of end in tragedy for him. Like it would have, I don't know. Like Cassian obviously had a bunch to do. He was like the drum pushing the way. But like I felt like Cassian could have easily like had a hero moment and swam him to shore or something like that.
Or give him the ability to sacrifice himself during the escape.
Exactly. Yeah. Go down taking a bullet for someone or something.
Swim.
Yeah.
Wait, are we sure he's dead?
No, like that's the thing. He could be alive. And the other thing too, they have access to the whole facility. There's got to be a hangar somewhere, right? Like they fly shuttles in and out of this place. So I can't help but wonder if maybe he makes his way up to a hangar or something like that and actually finds a ship.
I hope that is not the end of him.
Yeah. But if it is, it was a hell of a way to go out. Just,
hell of a run.
His parents should have put him in swim class a little bit earlier on.
I'd rather die trying to get out than die doing what they want or die doing stuff for them or something like that. Just such a great line.
Yeah, that one. That one in particular,
And I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'd rather die fighting them than die giving them what they want or something like that. Yeah. I was just like, God damn it, is that good?
Yeah, it just again, it's a trend with the show that just the dialogue is so smart. The writing is so smart on
brilliant. This. It was very Jason Bourne in all of the right ways.
So let's talk about, do you have anything else let's talk about the prison scene in general before we move on to the other scenes. The one thing I want to call out is we kind of touched on earlier. You had actually asked me, what do you think they're making the part wise? And I kind of brushed it off where it's like, I don't know, it's just some part. I don't know if we'll actually ever see what they are. And in this episode, they actually touch on it a little bit. They say that Cassian kind of identifies that they're making something extremely important for the Empire. And in the said interview, I said that Andy Serkis did. I'll read it for you here. The question was, people are so consumed with what they're building, but does it even matter ultimately? And he says it actually does matter what they're building because it's significant. For those who are really watching closely, the parts are quite significant. If you really examine those bits that are being formed and created by all the men on the floors, you'll discover that they hold huge importance. So he says all the floors. I've only ever seen the one piece being made, the the star looking shaped one. I'm nerdy with like the ships and stuff like that, and I can't think of what that goes on. I think did you say it was part of the TIE Fighter wing? Is that what you said, I think, before?
No, I thought it was some type of like a shell casing or a missile or some type of like discharged weapon that has something significant to do with it. Like maybe it's.
Yeah, my guess is obviously since this show ties in with Rogue One, it's obviously a Death Star part.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
is it part of the chamber?
Yeah, I just don't recognize where it's from. Let us know in the comments if anyone has a theory or
maybe it's the lock for the exhaust port that never gets closed.
Yeah,
that facility makes the latch that would have locked in that exhaust port.
It's gears for the garbage compactor.
Yeah, but they figured it was only, it's like the size of a womp rat. So what are the odds someone's going to hit it, right? It's fine.
Yeah, can you imagine? This is the thermal exhaust port.
Well, those pieces are about what? They're about 2 meters. I mean, it's about the size of a swamp rat. Yeah. I know a young guy that used to shoot him off the Desert Cove.
Yeah, bullseye him. His T-16 back home. So this episode was directed by Toby Haynes, who's done a few now and just doing a terrific job. He did last week's episode as well, and I can't help. A lot of people made a big deal of how, excuse me, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. How Tony Gilroy has kind of come out and said like Star Wars never ever wowed me. Like I was never like a Star Wars fanboy. Like obviously I'm aware of the property, but I'm here to tell my own story that just happens to be in Star Wars rather than, oh my God, I got to create this Star Warsy thing you know what I mean? The kind of different mentality. And some people try to make a negative out of that. I've kind of seen like, why are you hiring people who don't care about Star Wars to make Star Wars? But like a guy like Toby Haynes, who's the director for a bunch of these episodes, he's on interview saying he's a huge Star Wars fan. You could tell in his episodes. Like there's been so many callbacks to A New Hope in the interrogation scenes and the prison setup. Exactly. Like just something as little as when he's in the mic doing the call over. It's the same microphone that Han Solo uses when he says that there's a reactor leak. So like there's just so many
How
little
are you?
Yeah, we're fine.
We're fine.
Everything's fine.
How are you doing?
There's just so many little nods like that. So like it's just, again, it's not jamming everything in your face. It's like for me, it's the perfect bit of Easter egg nostalgia kind of stuff. It's there for you to notice. And if you don't notice, it doesn't impact the way you're consuming it at all.
Yep. That's fair.
So just great touches. So let's, let's go to Mon Mothma.
I was just going to say, can we please go to Mon after this?
Yeah. So she meets the banker, the thug. And this is, I said this kind of episode reminded me of House of the Dragon a little bit. And this is the other scene that really does, because what does he want? He doesn't want money, doesn't want a fee. He wants his son to accompany him and meet her daughter.
Yep. Proposes a marriage. Very, very Game of Thrones, very House of the Dragon, as is their traditional Chandrilian culture or customs.
Yeah.
And
like he's quote, literally,
what makes you think I like this tradition? I was like,
yeah. Like he's literally the Otto Hightower.
Yes, 100% he is.
Yeah, but I loved it. You can tell again, like Mon Mothma is such an intriguing character because the casual fan, right, of the original trilogy might have just thought Leia was the charge and lead of everything, right? But everyone who paid attention to Return of the Jedi was always like, well, holy shit, this Mon Mothma character, she's the leader. Like, how'd she get there? What's her story? And now they're finally filling it out. And like, it's great. Like, she's like, she seems like a total like kind of newbie in some of these games she's playing, right? Some of these more dangerous games, so to speak.
Yeah.
And she, she agreed to the meeting with this banker. You could tell she was uncomfortable. She's uncomfortable. All conversation, she's like just direct to the point. And then when he asks for the kids to meet, it was just immediate. No, see him out.
And humbly speaking, it didn't clue into me at first. When he was like, "Oh, I want to come back and visit," and I remember like she's laughing. I was actually watching with closed captions on, because when you told me like this is an episode, I kept closed captions on because I like to keep it on the odd time, especially if I'm watching it during the day, so I can follow dialogue a bit closer.
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, he wants to come back," and then he's like, "And I want to bring my 14-year-old son with me," and I was like, "Oh God!"
Yeah,
and you could just see her visibly shaken.
Yeah, she was like, and that was, and so the beauty thing in, I thought, her portrayal of it as well. Not only can you see the horror on her face, but you could almost see, I almost felt like I could see the wheels turning, being like, do I have to basically pawn off my daughter to keep this rebellion going? Like that, I feel that thought crossed her face at some point in one of those emotions. I was like, damn, like,
as we speak about this is the first episode that has really presented itself a theme. And the theme for this episode was sacrifice. Yeah. There's the thing with Luthen that we haven't talked about yet, which I'm sure we're going to talk about after.
Yeah.
We look at Kino's sacrifice and leading that charge. You have like there was a very strong message of sacrifice in this episode. And here we have Mon Mothma, who might literally have to give her daughter away to give birth to the rebellion. And she herself was part of an arranged Chandrillarian marriage that she is clearly not happy in and does not want that for her daughter. But is she willing to sacrifice that to keep a rebellion alive that one day could save millions? Like, the theme of this sacrifice is something that I hope us and 400 other YouTubers talk about. If anybody significantly important is watching this, go back and rewatch this episode on the theme of sacrifice. Holy shit.
And you know what? Like, I love talking about this stuff with you because, I perceive it, but did I fully realize? And now that you're saying it, Luthen's speech at the end, basically basically talks about all the actions that just happened in that episode. Like he
paraphrases it.
He about the whole sacrifice. Then, but now when you think about it, the entire episode was about that.
It is about physical sacrifice, emotional sacrifice, the sacrifice of customs, and then all of the things that Luthen talks about in different parts of this episode visually show face.
Yeah.
Sleepless nights he talks about. And again, I know we haven't even gotten into that, but he talks about like the chaos in his head and sleepless nights and peace of mind and a dream that he himself will never get to realize. You could equate so much of his words to Mon Mothma's fear, the inmates' battle, that moment where Kino says, yells out, "We're never getting out of here," or "We're never leaving."
Yeah.
It's just, wild.
Powerful.
Yeah. So Mon Mothma, let's get back to this, or I feel like we could dive into this for way too long. Yeah. So Mon Mothma's ultimate sacrifice. She's been very vocal about her lack of comfort through this whole situation, the fact that she didn't know the hands were going to get dirty. And now a proposal. In the traditions of her home planet.
Yeah.
So in theory, something that's completely acceptable, but completely goes against her moral code and how she views happiness.
But I feel like I know she's personally kind of against it, but it also in her position as a senator for Chandrilla, right? Like, she has to uphold those customs. Her marriage is based on those customs, right? So
yeah,
she's in a very interesting spot, and she's going to make I feel like she is going to make that sacrifice because they're going to look she needs that money, or else they're going to find the irregularities in her banking, right? And the rebellion's going to be cooked.
You are correct. I'm going to go down a limb and say that she doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to 100% do it. She just better hope that he's a nice boy and her daughter doesn't really notice.
Yeah. Imagine that. You're 14 and the daughter doesn't even like her. She's been so cold towards her mother the entire time. Now, oh, hey, I'm pawning you off to the human form of Jabba the Hutt's son. Go get it.
Keep him
Mommy
happy.
loves you. Yeah. Got to bankroll a rebellion. Okay. So do you anything more on this, or do we touch on Luthen and
go to Luthen? So we find out. Yeah,
what's that guy's name again?
I don't know his name.
Lonnie.
Lonnie. Yeah, it's kind of
Lonnie.
Yeah. So I actually wrote a different point about it. I'm like, this is 2 episodes in a row where he's stepped on Deidre. And what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, had a better point in front, over her in front of the superiors, right? Like he's kind of got in there with his point to make a good suggestion on these things. So I'm like, man, he's really she's probably, and you can tell she's kind of getting pissed at this guy. And then I'm like, man, this guy is a real tryhard. Like he's going to be the new, ISB guy to watch out for. But the whole time he's Luthen's man on the inside.
Yep.
Which is
and way better than the spy in the 9th movie.
Yeah.
It was me.
Yeah.
Shoot me.
And then we get this sweet little scene in the elevator, getting the mic, and they're all unsure of each other and stuff like that. And then when you find out he has a family, he wants to quit, but Luthen delivers that other powerhouse speech. It was just nah. He's like, you are trapped.
Yeah.
But then but he ended it with do you call him a hero? Is that what he said he was? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, you'll be a hero. But you're trapped. There's nothing you can do because
you're in it.
You're in it now. And he's like, I need you, and you can't just go away because of, you're going to get found out. So he's in it for the long haul. So he's going to make that sacrifice. And
he's going to sacrifice Keeger's men because he basically came to warn him, right? And he's like, and that's where the whole idea of sacrifice comes up first.
Are you willing to sacrifice 50 men aren't worth more than what you are? Right? He says that. So
you are worth more than these 50 men to protect you, to protect your family, to protect the secret.
Yeah. So he's literally giving up basically this entire rebel cell to sacrifice it so that the ISB doesn't catch on to him. Which again, it's crazy storytelling.
And he still denies the attack.
Yeah. So quick little theory of mine.
Yeah, you got to show this. Yeah,
I showed you a little.
If anyone's watching this, is this a reach? Does Tyler just watch too much of this?
So let me know in the comments. This guy reminded me so much of. So here's our boy, right? You can see that it's working.
Yeah, there he is.
So he reminded me,
Lonel or whatever.
I don't know why he reminded me so much of the comms officer in Rogue One who comes running out to Mon Mothma and says it's Admiral Raddus. He's gone to war. And so if you look at them side by side, obviously it's not the same actor, but there's some similarities there.
I mean, that is a handsome mustache.
And again, Rogue One is 5 years from now, I think. So maybe that's too significant aging, but I don't know.
They say war ages a man.
Yeah. By the time Rogue One.
Hold on, you're looking at that guy, not the guy to the left, right?
No, not the guy to the left, the guy in the center.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that before looking at him side by side. I was like, oh, that's who he kind of reminds me of. But I don't know. Probably not, but could be. Because when you think about it, he's a rebel, and would he be in the ISB? up past Rogue One, like still there, or would they get him once they have a bigger base of operation going? Would they get him defected out and then working full time for the rebellion? I don't know. So interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's a secret little Rogue One Easter egg. Maybe it's just me off my rocker. But you know what? I think that's it. That's all I have left. You got anything else to add on this episode before we score this masterpiece?
I do not. When you messaged me and told me about it, I watched it over my lunch hour today. I feel like this is the episode you have been waiting for this entire season.
Well,
I feel like to you, this was it. So there's no, you know what? I'm trying to think, is there any way that I'm going to score this before you, or do I make you score it first? Like, I'm so intrigued as to where you're at on this.
Well, it's going to be my first Star Wars episode over a 9. I think that's a given with how we've talked.
Now our highest score ever is a 9, right?
Highest score ever is the King Viserys.
King Viserys is a 9, yeah.
Yeah, is a 9.
All right, well, I will start it off. I'm going to equal this at a 9. A 9.0. I will tie this for my highest ever rated episode of anything we've rated since we started. I thought that it had all of the emotional triumph that we were looking for. It had the action sequence. And what I loved about this episode specifically is often, especially when it comes to Star Wars, this may be something we can talk about in another episode, is often you have great tension and dialogue and not senseless battle, but, you know, action because it's action. Very rarely in a Star Wars property, and I hope I don't get shot for saying this, very rarely do you have a battle in Star Wars that is infused with unease, that is infused with tension and dialogue and those speeches in the middle of it. There was
it's very purposeful, right? Like they had to do what they were doing. Yeah.
There was a discomfort in the middle of this chaos. And if there's one thing in my mind that Star Wars has not done well, it has not been able to bring soul and depth to battle. Pew 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 pew. This had so much discomfort. Like I felt uncomfortable and on the edge of my seat watching that prison moment. And that is something I have never experienced in a Star Wars property. Tied for 9, my highest ever. I don't know if I will ever give more than a 9, but this was virtually a perfect episode.
And now I'm just saying, shout out to the fucking new guy who's like getting transported down in the middle of the escape, and then grabs the stick and shocks the guy.
Let's do it.
and then immediately eats a laser bolt. So
this guy's in it. Yeah.
All right. So you're a 9 even.
I'm a 9.
So I was after watching the episode, in my mind, I was 9-1, but after reading Andy Serkis's interview to help me feel a little bit better about the no swimming thing, and even discussing with you about the overall theme of sacrifice, when everything was actually fully tied in together. Yeah, I'm sitting at a solid 9.3 for this one.
Woo!
Yeah. And again, I feel like part of the payoff too is just the whole season in general. You know what I mean? I feel like moments and everything have been leading up to this particular moment, and a lot of themes and stuff that's been going on. So like, yes, the episode is 9.3, but it's also an overall reflection of how we got to this point as well. But yeah, I was going, and the other thing too, my like quick check from like to check myself is if I'm going in something with high expectations, I tend to be disappointed or a little let down or underwhelmed. I went in with high expectations and came out extremely happy with what I saw. So that's how I know, for me personally, as my internal compass, how it really sat good with me.
Yeah, it's funny you say that expectations going into a viewing of something. Not that I want to spin this off of Star Wars, but as anyone who's watched any of my stuff knows, I'm a big Marvel fan, but I've never had an opinion as to what I think they should do in any of the properties. I'm there to enjoy it, break it down. Tomorrow's Wakanda Forever is the first Marvel movie I will ever go in with a clear, they better do this and they better do this. It's the first time in 29 movies, 30 movies that I've ever had an opinion as to what I believe should happen. And I'm worried that if it doesn't,
it's
even
a
if it's
slope,
great,
man.
And I've never, not once have you ever heard me say, well, this needs to happen tomorrow. I have very clear and I could probably read about it, but I'm not going to beforehand. Yeah. I have very clear expectations about what I believe should happen. And if not, I'm going to be pissed.
And that's why, those are the exact reasons why I didn't like The Force Awakens, because I wrote that movie in my head and went in, and when things went sideways. That's a good way to put it.
It's a good way to put it. I have loosely written the script for Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
And I'm so worried that even if it's a great movie, it's going to be overcast by if it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And that's another great thing about Andor is that I'm not, yes, I was expecting a great Prison Break episode, but like, I'm not like hanging on all these crazy details and stuff because you know what? I know they're working with a blank slate pretty much. Like they could go any direction they want. So like, I'm just here for the ride. And that mindset makes things hell of a way more enjoyable.
And I think that's why Star Wars has had such great success with some of these storylines. Mandalorian isn't even a person. It's a culture. So there was no expectations. Andor was a guy you met once in a movie. Like there was no expectations of what you think his past should be like. So we're able to enjoy it.
And I think Boba and Obi-Wan were a little...
Kenobi, everybody was like...
Yeah, I think they're a little lower down, right? Because everyone had expectations for Kenobi, and they had expectations for what Boba Fett should be.
Yeah. Yeah, like Kenobi, I did not have those expectations. I loved it because I let go of any expectations. I was genuinely just happy to have it back. But I know that character is so rich with history, and in the written word, like there was so much expectation for it that I could see how people would be disappointed. I now understand that because of what I'm going to be facing tomorrow.
Another one too, the Bad Batch. Not much expectations on
none.
What they're
People
going to do,
loved
right?
It. Yep.
All right. So we've rambled on enough here. Let us know in the comments. Do you guys agree with our review? Did you love this episode like we did? And let me know also what you think is how are we going to end? I think we got 2 episodes left for Andor.
Yeah, normally the second last one's the banger.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell they're going to top this.
Well, they could drop a Star Destroyer on protesters, but we'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Peace out, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. Wait, will we see you next week?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't leave until Friday.
Okay. So
but I will still tune in. I will tune in from vacation.
All right.
On the Wednesday night. I will not miss it.
Love that commitment, buddy.
Yeah. Don't know if I'll have this mustache, but I will be there.
All right.
If anybody watching this donates any amount of money, I will keep this mustache until the end of the month and I will rock it down south.
All right. I think I'll donate to you to ensure that's happens.
Fair enough.
All right, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you all next week.
Cheers.